obviously in the MCU, having some of the characters they've put in there have been just straight up amazing. Black Panther was masterfully played by Chadwick Boseman prior to his very unexpected and very, untimely death from cancer. Um, Initially, after his death, the studio said, "We're not going to recast. We don't want to. We don't think that's honoring Chadwick's legacy. We don't want to do it. We think it's disrespectful to Chadwick Boseman." So they released Black Panther 2, and in Black Panther 2, they made Shuri the Black Panther because that's what Ryan Coogler wrote. Um, but it appears that Disney and the folks over at Marvel may have changed their mind. So this broke yesterday over at the InSnyder. So he's really good at. He's generally pretty right. He's one of the very few like online only guys who generally gets it correct. Um, he's saying that Marvel is going to recast the role of T'Challa with a new actor. What's most interesting about that is apparently they've already offered it to somebody and they got turned down. Right? They offered it to a how does he quote it here? A prominent black actor, and they said no. They didn't want to halt their own career momentum by trying to step into Chadwick Boseman's shoes. Is what Jeff Snyder's saying. So I find this interesting for a couple of reasons, right? One, I think that it kind of goes to show that their experiment making Shuri the Black Panther just didn't work, right? I think that that's what they're seeing. There was also some issues with the actress who was playing Shuri when they were filming. That's a whole other ball of kittens. Um, and I think they see with Secret Wars coming up and all the weird multiversal that it's going to be easier to explain a recast now. So, here's my two questions to you, Jay. One, do you think it's a good idea to recast T'Challa? And if they do, who do you think? What are some names you think would be good for that role? Ah,
Oh gosh. Okay. Wow. Those are some big questions there. Um, I think it's very hard to continue I don't know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe without a superhero like him. I do feel like it's a little too soon. Um,
it's been 5 years.
5 years, really?
That's
Oh my
about. He
god!
died in 2020.
Wow, I did not know that. Okay. Um,
Time flies.
yeah, time flies when you're having amazing politics stories like we are right now. Um, this is kind of this gets into yeah, I this is a risk. This is a huge risk, which you kind of have to do in the business world. The whole reason, for instance, why we are on Thursdays now, is because I am in a business strategy class for my MBA currently, and we're talking a lot about like you have to like strategy is all about like looking at the risk and then choosing kind of like which risk you want to take on, or a lot of times like what you don't want, or like you choose not to do some things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think, this is a huge risk on them that they're kind of like rolling the dice. This is obviously part of their pretty big, hopefully well thought out strategy plan here. Um, I don't know from a comic book point of view, like you said, it does make sense to kind of recast now. You can easily explain it away. Um, I think people are going to be tied too much, right? Um, I think people are gonna view this as like, how can you replace him? You know? Um, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, like, yes, we've had many Batmans throughout the years, even going all the way back to Adam West.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't really ever have a superhero die on us and then had a recast because of that.
So they've they've done 4 recastings, major recastings in the MCU that I can think of. And chat, I see that question. I'm going to address that question there in chat here in just a second. So within the MCU, the only other time they've recast due to death is Thunderbolt Ross because William Hurt died, and so now Harrison Ford is taking on that character in the upcoming Falcon and the Winter Soldier movie, right? And so that's the only other time they've had to recast due to death, right? They recasted Rhodey after Iron Man 1 to Don Cheadle, which both from a, don't get me wrong, I love, God, why can't I think of his name? The guy who played Rhodey in Iron Man 1. He's
Yeah.
great. He was amazing. Apparently it was a contract issue
Mm.
was why they recasted. They just couldn't come to terms on the contract. And that was the very beginning. This was not like now. When you sign an MCU contract as an actor now, it's always a multi-film deal. It's usually you're going to headline 2 movies, but you're appearing in at least 4 more or something along those lines, right? Those guys don't sign single film deals. That was the very beginning of the MCU, so they didn't know they had to get these guys on multi-film deals right out the gate and stuff like that, because the MCU was new. They didn't even know it was going to work. So that's the only time. So that's a recast. And then technically Mark Ruffalo is a recast because the Ed Norton Incredible Hulk is in the MCU. Everybody forgets about it. It kind of flies past everybody. Post credits, right? William Hurt's in that as Thunderbolt Ross. Tony Stark shows up in the post credits. They recast Ed Norton to Mark Ruffalo. Again, pretty good recasting. I was fine with that recasting. As much as I love Edward Norton. I think he's a great actor. I thought he was a fun Bruce. I thought he did a good job in that Hulk movie. As far as whether it's too, I don't know. I know that their experiment with Shuri didn't work.
Yeah.
It just, it didn't work. Chat's asking, why are they trying to recast rather than use AI? Because quite frankly, I've looked at some of the AI output stuff, and I think that Disney's at the point where it's just not good enough. Right? The AI that's out there just is not good enough to do what they want it to do. Most AI stuff I've seen still looks really uncanny valley, janky. It just doesn't look right. And 2, I don't think Disney wants the controversy.
Yeah.
They just don't. They are going to be very careful about their use of AI because they don't want the controversy. And you're coming back to the chat with the unethical. It's not, again, to them, it's less about ethics. It's more about PR. And I think the PR of trying to create T'Challa whole cloth out of composite Chadwick Boseman, I don't know if they have the rights to do it because there is, like, you have to buy the rights. So, for example, James Earl Jones sold the rights to his voice to Disney to use for Darth Vader. Right? So if they produce something where Darth Vader's in it, they will not recast it. They will use composited James Earl Jones AI dialogue to do the voice because James Earl Jones sold them the rights to do so. I don't know if Chadwick Boseman's estate did the same. I doubt it. But yeah, I think from a PR standpoint, I think it's a bad idea. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Also, I just like I think it's just really expensive. Like Marvel movies are already expensive. Adding the extra cost of having to AI slash CGI someone else's face on someone else. Like that has to be kind of expensive. So yeah, I think it's just like easier just to recast if you are going to do like go that route. But yeah, I just don't I just don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see how they kind of pull that off. Your second question of who?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't even know. I know like if I was in a very similar situation, yeah, I 100%
But turn
agree
it
with
down.
whoever turn it down because it's just
It's
I feel like
fraught.
it's too risky as an actor to kind of try to do that. It's oh, I don't know.
Um, so here's a couple that I've thought of off the top of my head. Number one on my list is John David Washington.
Who is that?
Uh, he was the lead in Tenet.
Okay, yes. Yes, he's on Ballers as well, I think.
He was in Black Klansman, right? He was in The Creator. Um, he's Denzel Washington's son. Which again, part of the reason this came, I was watching the show and they were talking about this because Denzel let slip that Ryan Coogler's writing him a role in Black Panther 3, which is coming after Secret Wars at some point. Right? So I think it would be fun. I think he's a really good actor. I think again with the with the Marvel training, you know what I mean? Um I think that he could do it. I really do. Um I don't want somebody too old. You know what I mean? I want somebody kind of young. You know? Um I'm all for them finding a uh a new actor. Here was one somebody brought up in the chat on the show that I watch, and I'm curious what your thoughts on this are. Michael B. Jordan.
So that's who I was like literally just looking at and
Because he was
thinking about.
Killmonger in Black Panther 1.
Yeah.
But multiverse, right? In another universe, did he become the Black Panther?
I
We
mean,
know he
that's
can carry a movie.
yeah. I kind of like that kind of oh, in this universe he is Black Panther. I think that's a fun little spin. Um
Yeah, I think that's not a bad spin. Again, John David Washington's probably the one. If you're gonna get like somebody relatively well known, right? That's probably the direction that I would go. I mean, but you need somebody who can carry a movie. And Chadwick could do and again, I'm curious. I wish Jeff Snyder had found out who turned it down. Um, Here's the thing. He may know who turned it down. He may not just have put it into his article. Um, you know, I mean, now give credit to the Marvel casting department. They're really good at what they do. They have been really, really on point as far as casting people. There have been very few times in Marvel like movies where I'm like, that was miscast. You know what I mean? Like, can you think of any off the top of your head where they really screwed the casting up
uh,
for
uh
their main characters? Because I can't. Chat, help me out here if you could think of some. Because for their main like mainline characters, I think they've knocked it out of the park every time.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of anything.
You know who might be able to do it? John Boyega.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to give him a shot. I'd be willing to give John Boyega a shot. I think he got kind of the short end of the stick with Star Wars. I think John Boyega could. I'd give him a shot as Black Panther, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. I do kind of I'm kind of wondering about this. Like Hayden Christensen has said that like Star Wars ruined his film career.
But now he's
Uh,
come back.
he is coming back,
He has. I thought he did
but
great in Obi-Wan
yeah, I agree. But that's another Star Wars movie.
and
Like
Ahsoka.
um when Star Wars came out, like the critics like ruined like Hayden Christensen.
Oh yeah.
Like they like, ate him up saying the acting was horrible, he was horrible. Like Star Wars fans love him. And then
Now,
outside
now they
that,
do. See,
yeah.
everybody forgets. Everybody wants to forget. Everybody crapped on the prequels. Everybody crapped on the prequels when they came out. Believe me. I remember. I was there for the deep magic, dude. People were upset, right? Um, they were upset with a lot of things George did.
Misa Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Black Panther. I think that I think they've got a tall order. Marvel's done a good job casting in the past. But yeah, this one's risky.
Yeah.
I do think if you're going to keep the Black Panther character in there, you should recast.
Yes, I agree.
You know.
But stepping into that, it's like the same as like replacing Robert Downey Jr. It it's not going.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, folks, let us know down in the comments. Who would you like to see as the new Black Panther? What should they do? Is there any actors you like for the role? Or do you think they should just kind of like quietly drop the character? Let us know down in the comments below.